Hello and thanks for checking out TheChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Is everybody having fun yet? Congrats to the bulls. We've got a setup for a blow off top. No, I am not going to try and call a top because I have no idea where it will happen, but I have a pretty good idea of how it will happen. So I'll talk about that a little bit. I talked about it last night with Alex from Nuggets News. We did a little live stream real quick, but we are in exponential FOMO breakout mode. We're at a price now that this price has only been seen in Bitcoin for about 7 weeks in all of eternity. And we are in the area with a lack of resistance. We knew 11,775. After that level, the lack of resistance is making it easy for the bulls to move. And you can see the biggest daily candlestick that we've seen on this move and the most volume behind it happened when that break occurred, because it's the easiest for the bulls to move through. We've got a short squeeze going on. Again, people saying who is buying up here? Shorts continue to climb and shorts continue to get crushed. Do not short Bitcoin while we are in a daily uptrend. That is my opinion. If you want to be more aggressive, wait for a loss of the 4-hour uptrend. As I pointed out in the last video, as long as the 4-hour uptrend is intact, the bulls have complete control. So why I feel a blow off top is coming is because that's how we climax both to the downside and to the upside when we're in this kind of scenario and emotions are extreme. And we're not just going to start fading and then just see a little loss of the 4-hour uptrend. I think that's very unlikely. I'd give that maybe a 15% chance of happening, 20% chance, and a blow off top being a 80% chance. So what is a blow off top? It's when you have the absolute last push by the bulls, the absolute maximum amount of FOMO. We run really hard to the top, and then we dump just as hard right back down. And you might be saying, well, we've seen that multiple times and it hasn't led anywhere. Yes, they have looked similar to what a blow off top will look like. Here on the 15-minute time frame, we saw a bull move up and then a quick pullback, and that was a 6% pullback. The kind of move that I'm talking about, I'm going to be looking for, $1,000 move up and then $1,000 drop instantly right behind it. And by instantly, I'm talking about maybe even in a 15 to 20 minute time frame. So the fake climaxes that we have seen, what has been notable about them is after our initial low and after stop losses are triggered and we reach a bottom, we don't see a lower low. The bounces take us slowly back to continuation. So that is notable. We did see one lower low earlier today, and I actually did get stopped out. I have been trading this. So when I say no FOMO and no entries, we're certainly not making swing entries up here, but we have clear patterns and we can trade those clear patterns. So we had a 15-minute equilibrium. I tried to make an entry. I risked about $50 on Bitcoin, ended up getting stopped out right before this bull move did take place. But this was a scenario where we did drop to a lower low. But what I need to see is a 15-minute lower high and lower low in succession right behind it, in order to say, okay, momentum is gone for now. Even this move right now, it doesn't look like we're going to top out. We're going to look for a 15-minute higher low right now. The 5-minute oversold bounce continues to be ideal for the bulls. Look at this drop, big lower wick, 5-minute RSI got oversold, and then just like that, we're up $600 about 40, 50 minutes later. So we'll continue watching 5-minute oversold conditions. We're still even in a 5-minute uptrend right now. So watching for the potential of a 5-minute equilibrium. We'll check back in on Bitcoin by the end of this video. Resistance levels from here are limited. We're looking at 14,000 and 15,000 psychological levels because there's no resistance here on the weekly time frame. And again, the 4-hour uptrend is the most important for me. And it's the kind of scenario where if we see a real blow off top, we will probably lose the 12-period exponential support on the 4-hour time frame, depending on how far away it is from the price. But it's the kind of move where you look at it and say, that's our top. There's no question about it because of how much we pull back. So again, I'm not sure that we're there yet. This 5-minute time frame is not showing me anything that's telling me the bears are taking back control. We're seeing profit taking after a very significant move up. And again, the trades that I'm making are very short term at this point. I'm holding my long term no touch position. Someone asked, do I have stop losses on those positions? No. I account for those as far as how much dollar value that adds to my net worth as $0. So if crypto all collapses and goes to zero, I am where I have been tracking myself for the past however many months. And everything else is just a bonus. And that's a really good psychological way to look at it because it's always good, that outlook. So we know that when we lose the 4-hour uptrend, we're going to look for healthy daily consolidation. There's going to be entry opportunities for that daily high or low. You better believe there's going to be shorts looking to cover. There's going to be longs looking to enter. I know multiple people in my personal circle who are watching this move and have to look to enter for any kind of swing trade because certainly entering swing trades up here is not a good idea. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum, that's a dump. Look at that volatility. Good Lord. So Ethereum just went from 356 down to 338. And this is why you got to be cautious because one of these times the dips won't get bought like this. And people are going to get used to the dips being bought every single time. And one of the times it won't happen. And hopefully there's an exit plan because the 5% pullback that people have been buying and has been working really well. Someone's going to buy a 5% pullback and next thing they know, they're going to be down an extra 5%. So again, just being aware, we always want to keep a level head and know what the most likely scenarios are, even though there's no sign of it right now. If you've played hype and euphoric markets before, this is how the MJ sector has topped out many times on the daily time frame. Huge push up, huge push back real quick, complete 180, big bear volume, and pushing right through a whole lot of bids and a whole lot of stops get triggered. So Ethereum, we're going to look for a 5-minute equilibrium as well. We'll look for a 5-minute lower high compared to 356. Cut myself off there. So about trading. So short-term trading. Where can we be looking for entries? Number one, 5-minute oversold. But this is a scenario today where we just had a clear psychological resistance break. We had a double top at 12,948. And as soon as we break 1,300, if you are buying into that momentum, and again, just looking for a quick scalp. And by scalp, it means if I'm buying a 1,300 break, I'm getting filled on a market order, and I'm literally starting to place my sell orders less than 60 seconds after I make that entry. And even if I'm only exiting the first 25 to 33% of that position, that gives me a little bit of space and comfortability as far as where my break-even point on that trade is. And then I can just, every $100 or whatever, scale out a little bit more and just remain really conservative. Because the last thing I want to be doing is buying that climax push and getting stuck holding and trying to compete with people selling as the stop losses trigger. So Ethereum, ETH, BTC, as I've been saying, the ETH or the BTC pairing charts have to change the 4-hour time frame to prove anything to us. There's some nice bounces in here, but if we do not change the 4-hour trend, we prove nothing, and the Bitcoin dominance continues. So we're coming down to test support, but I would need to see the low hold and the bulls break 2766 for that to mean anything for me on ETH BTC. Poor Litecoin is just sitting here, and this is why diversification is key, because if you are only in Litecoin, it is painful watching what's going on in this space right now. So that's why, being a fundamentalist and a diehard fan is great, but diversification is also great. So it's a daily inside bar on Litecoin. And we're looking at this key support of 128.91 and that level held by 9 pennies. So that's a little double bottom on the daily time frame. And for the bulls to prove anything and get some momentum, we'd have to see a break of 146. And a bunch of notable things have happened. We know Litecoin was the lead bull to start 2019. Pretty much the first 4 months of the year, Litecoin led the way. And its gains were more significant than Bitcoin and Ethereum. So what's happening right now is we're remaining stagnant. Bitcoin and Ethereum are catching up a little bit. It's not significant. We're still way higher. Litecoin's gone something like 500+%, whereas Bitcoin at this point has gone less than that, but not by a whole lot. Ethereum's gone the least, I believe. I don't have these numbers off the top of my head, but bottom line is, while we're staying stagnant, that gap is closing. And LTC BTC has made a very notable break. And you can see RSI is meaningless. The weekly time frame is in a downtrend now. I anticipated it would be likely that we would hold this support level, but of course I didn't see this Bitcoin bull extravaganza taking place. So we have the lower high and lower low on the weekly, and that's coming after a weekly uptrend from pretty much December through April. So it's a very notable shift, and I do believe that Litecoin is losing a lot of favor. This will bounce, these charts will bounce, but we are in a daily downtrend, and the bounce will just form a daily lower high. And even if we change the daily trend, the weekly time frame is in a downtrend, and we would just look for a weekly lower high. So it is a very notable shift from Litecoin, and again, bounces will be had, but this is a notable long-term scenario. XRP USD tightening on the daily, and we're looking for the potential of an equilibrium where we've got our high of the bull move, our low of the pullback, and unable to break resistance, we're forming a lower high. If we were to lose the 4-hour uptrend from here, we would say our daily lower high is set, and right now the most important short-term support is 465. So 465 gets broken, lower high has been set, and the bulls have to hold 446, expecting some sideways range here. It's a pretty wide range, and we're right in the middle of it. So expecting to stay here for a few days potentially. Binance tried to give us the confirmation that our daily higher low had been established with a bull move this morning, but we're giving most of it back. And again, while we broke resistance, we did not confirm a 4-hour trend change. We have to see the higher low and higher high for that trend change to take place. 38 is our new resistance, and the bulls must hold our low of 35.71. If we can't hold 35.71, we have no sign of a 4-hour trend change. If we do, it's essentially the same as an inverse head and shoulders pattern, just going from lower highs and lower lows to a higher low and then a higher high. And that would make us real confident that our daily higher low has been established. We're holding exponential support right now. Nice visual guide. And the question is, can we confirm a 4-hour trend change for Binance? So Bitcoin, no big deal on this current pullback. 5-minute time frame, still in an uptrend. If we lose the 5-minute uptrend, we zoom out to the 15-minute, still in an uptrend. If we lose that, we look at the hourly exponential support, which has been holding for a day and a half. So we have all these time frames, and again, I just don't foresee us losing these trends by just fading and just, slowly shifting trends with a rounded top. I expect a big climax up, $1,000 up, $1,000 pullback very quickly when that does happen. So we can see more legs up because, like I said, I don't anticipate that we would top out in this fashion. So I don't think our top is hit just yet. If you are in a longer term position, again, you want to have your game plan established. Scaling out is the anti-FOMO play. If you have a no-touch position, you're not touching it. But if you have a swing position, then the anti-FOMO play is scaling out. And if you have, let's say I have 3 Bitcoin. If I sell 1 Bitcoin at 11,000 and I sell another one at 13,000 and I sell another one at 16,000, that is my average selling of just about, I should have kept track of those numbers in my head, a little over 13,000. And then you can potentially look for daily consolidation. That's, of course, if we get to 16. And then look to rebuild another position. And it's the kind of scenario where that anti-FOMO position, if you sell one and we keep going, great. You've still got position. You're still making money. There's no woulda, coulda, shoulda. If you think that way, it's just going to eat at you because you're never going to make the perfect trade. You have to be happy with what you've got if you executed a game plan and then create a new game plan. And if it pulls back after you sell, then it's great. You locked in profit and you've got capital for the pullback that is coming. So that's where we stand. And again, keep an eye out for that climax push because it's going to happen real fast and it's going to happen out of nowhere if it does happen. And I shouldn't say out of nowhere because every time we see a big surge, start getting ready and start preparing yourself. And it doesn't mean, there's going to be a bunch of times where it already has happened. Not this time, not this time. But one of these times it's going to be, it's this time. And it'll be a scenario where we go straight through 5-minute oversold conditions. And I don't expect a 5-minute oversold bounce when we do see the climax top. And we would probably just go straight into 15-minute and hourly oversold conditions. Of course, depending on how it all shapes up. But that's just, if I had to guess on how we're going to top out, statistically speaking, and from how I've seen multiple hype markets and sectors work, that's how I think it's going to happen. And I've been having that opinion for the last 24 hours or so, ever since this smooth move. If we were going to see a smooth bear break, in my opinion, it would have happened here. And now that we're in exponential breakout mode, I think that climax top is likely. So one thing I want to talk about before we wrap it up here, I've been cutting off the goat the whole time, is different markets. If you are only a crypto trader, that's great. I would suggest expanding your horizons and getting familiar with other markets because there's always other opportunity. And I made this post on Twitter today, but essentially the best thing that you could do with money in markets that have been possible in the last 2 years is play crypto in 2017, take your crypto profit at the end of 2017, put it in Canadian marijuana stocks, which then saw hundreds of percent runs, compound your profit, take your Canadian MJ profit, put it back into the weakness of the cryptocurrency space, and now you'd be enjoying this bull move. And I think the next move is going to be taking cryptocurrency profit, whenever that is, and putting it into US marijuana stocks, which over the last 4 months have been getting crushed. I have no doubt whatsoever that I'm going to make significant money on US marijuana stocks. The big question mark is when, because we don't know when the legal changes are going to take place. We know it's extremely likely they will take place, but it could be 1 year, it could be 3 years until we get some of the green lights. My point being, there are ways to compound profits and potentially change your life, certainly in cryptocurrency, but in other markets as well. So I personally am going to be focused. I'm going to shift my focus away from cryptocurrency once things slow down, perhaps when we lose a daily uptrend, and then focusing really hard on those US marijuana stocks, because taking profits from a really significant bull move and hype market and putting them into a market that is crushed, but that you anticipate and are very confident is going to be going back up again. And I'm just waiting for the I can see it already. It's like you can see the future. You know there's going to be a euphoric, multiple 100% run in the USMJ sector. You know it's going to be all over CNBC. You know we're going to get uplistings. We're going to get regulation changes. It's just the when factor that's the tricky part. Timing it is the tricky part. So I highly suggest broadening your scope, checking things out. It doesn't mean sell your crypto. It doesn't mean leave the cryptocurrency space. It means capitalize on the opportunities that are all around us in markets. So I appreciate you tuning in. Keep an eye out for that climax. Don't think we're there yet. I do think we'll have another leg up. And we'll come back in and see if I'm wrong or right. I appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. We'll end it with the second half of the walk around for the permaculture suggestions. Appreciate your posts. See you soon. Now we'll look at the barn. So bottom of the barn here is just a carport, but we would utilize the up. I would definitely need to get a bit better insulation, but just looking to have, 3 goats, so it should be plenty big. And I'd probably need to put some big fans up in here because it's definitely hot and stifling. So this comes off the top side of the barn where the goats would come out, and I was thinking of putting some fencing to cut off right here and then cut off along the side of the brush here. And there's an area in the back, which I'll go to in just a second, where I'm thinking they'll be concentrated. Chicken coop already established. I've always done my chickens free range. There's only appears to be 1 hawk on the property, but it's pretty small. So maybe starting them inside the cage and eventually giving them more freedom. Before we go up to the proposed goat area, this is the barn and that's the house. And we got the ponds over there. So this is where the perennials already are established. We got a row of raspberries and behind them are a row of grapes. He used to have strawberries here, but obviously they didn't make it. So I don't know if we would want to work with this cloth, this black cloth here, or pull it up. Certainly would have to worry about erosion for the time being if it were pulled up. So we'll put something here. Originally I was thinking the figs, but they might get too big and would block out the sun for the other guys. Maybe blueberries. So now we'll go back behind the chicken coop, and there's a lot of woods up in here that I'd probably put a fence on the other side of these grapes so the goats have access to all this brush in here. So there's the barn in the back of the chicken coop, and it opens up here. Could potentially put a tiny home here eventually, but for now I imagine it being the goats area. This back wall or back borderline of the property is fenced from the neighbors already, so that's convenient. And then looking down in here, this is the area that I would have to fence off because you can see the perennials are down on the other side, but I feel like that'd be a nice amount of greenery. And also thinking of getting the goats the next spring, so anything that you would recommend planting in this area now, fast growing stuff that they could benefit from. Losing my breath. Hostas or I don't know what. I'd also like to put something in here to block off a bit more, get a bit more privacy. The previous owner definitely did a good job of putting evergreens around the property edges, but there's just some holes to plug. Perhaps put something right in there. Now we're gonna walk through here to the back end of the house. So here's the back of the house. There's some nice clear space here, and it does get good sun, but it's also the leaching field of the septic system. They said that in the 20 years they were here, it never really was anything, but we couldn't do too deep roots here. So I was thinking maybe a few more raised beds up in here, and then I want to do a bunch of wildflowers. So I don't know if we would designate their own raised beds for wildflowers, or I'd be open to putting a tarp down over the winter and putting some weight on it and killing the grass, and then in the spring just sprinkling a whole bunch of wildflower mix. I'd also want to get a hive or two, not necessarily for honey, I don't really care about that too much, but more so just for all the annuals and perennials and just the overall health of the ecosystem. So now we'll curl around into the driveway. So I got a waterfall feature here, the areas that we were just looking at. That's where I suggested potential raised beds, and then the wildflowers are on the other side of this magnolia. But this was, they used chemicals for this, and I'm gonna transition it to natural. So I've got someone that I haven't really talked to yet, but I'm reaching out to some people to see if they are knowledgeable in that. Definitely need a new filter and all that, and I'd like to put some little fish in there and some snails and stuff. I'd like to be able to get into it in the summer. It's pretty deep. And any kind of plants up here, there are already a couple little ones, but anything that would help with natural filtration. There's definitely a bunch of frogs that live back here.